Hello, it's Adedoyin Jaiyesimi here, and welcome to my YouTube channel. This is the final module in the Unpacking Corporate Communications comms course. This is a bite-sized comms course where I'm teaching the fundamentals of corporate communications. And we started with understanding the corporate communications function in the first module. We looked at the core skills that corporate communicators should have in the second module. In the third module, we looked at some best practices. And in this final module, we're going to be looking at measuring corporate communications impact. If you haven't watched any of the previous 3 videos, I would advise that you do so before you jump into this one. Or maybe it is really what you need, but however, I leave you to decide. But let's get into it. Now, I think by now you already are very clear as to how important your work as a corporate communications professional is within your organization. But you can do all the hard work, spend the sleepless nights, put sweat to do the strategy, run up and down, chase people. If at the end of the day, your senior leaders and the board cannot quantify the impacts that you have, especially because you are working in a corporate organization, it's really going to be very difficult for you to articulate value. So it's not enough to say, oh, the work we do is intangible. Even in the balance sheet, there is a line item for brand, there is a line item for reputation. It is actually quantified, which is why I keep advocating that know these things, ask these questions, get this knowledge. If it can be quantified in a balance sheet or an income statement, maybe not income statement, but at least in the balance sheet or when they're valuing the company, there's a line item, then surely you must be able to communicate or portray, showcase the ROI of the work that you're doing in very tangible terms. And that's what I'm going to try and touch on. Like I always say, or like I've been saying in all the previous model, I can teach this thing for the whole day for 1 month, but my goal here is to give you the fundamentals that you can run off with, what you can apply now, and the things that you then have to build up your knowledge on. Communications measurement is something that is emerging. There's a lot of changes. People are learning what tools work. There's trial and error going on, but there are principles and frameworks that you can actually hinge on and then tweak for your own unique context that will deliver results. And I know because I've done it and I've seen it work, and I'm just going to share some of that with you. First things first, I always like to share some key questions you should ask as you go into developing your plans, developing your strategy, as you think about your programming within your department, within your corporate communication function. Number 1, what does my organization want to achieve? By now, you know that you should be aligning with business corporate objectives. Very important. So you have to be very clear. If you cannot clearly say what your organization wants to achieve, then you need to be having some important conversations. Then you need to be asking questions. You have to be very clear. Number 2, what do we want to achieve through our communication strategy and the tactics that we develop? Every tactic that you pick, it has to be delivering on something. You have to be very clear. If we're going for this influencer, what are we hoping to achieve? And it's not buzz, it's not virality. How does that translate into business outcomes? You really need to be able to clearly articulate and define that. How will you know that you have achieved it? And this is where measurement comes. If we say we want to increase awareness in order to get people talking about our products or services, get them buying, how would we know that we have achieved that? The ultimate outcome, not just the awareness, because awareness has to tie into business outcomes. And then what does success look like for our senior leaders? I always say this, you really have to hear from their mouth. Let them articulate it. What does success look like? And if you don't have proximity to them because of the unique context that you're in, whoever has proximity to them, ask the person to ask them. I will record the meeting so that you can hear, but you need the information. That's really the point. And then how are we going to collect our baseline figures? What is the current perception about our organization, our brand? You can't say you want to change perception if you do not know the current level of perception. Even if you have a general sense of our perception is bad, can we quantify it? Can you use perception tools, sentiment analysis to say, hey, this is the current level, so that we know what we're working with? Are we going from 40? Are we trying to change 40 to 60? Are we what exactly is our baseline figure? My favorite example, how do you know that you have added weight? Because you know what your weight is. So when you step on the scale and it's showing you something different, you know whether you have added or you've lost. Or the dress that normally fits nicely is snug, it's tighter, or it's loose. You then know that, hey, something that shifted in my weight. So there needs to be a benchmark that you can then articulate that, hey, based on the things that we did, we achieved a 20% increase, we did X number. You can't do that without a baseline. So here are just some metrics that you can use to measure. Again, it's going to be dependent on what exactly it is that you're doing, what you want to achieve, which is why you really have to ask these questions, because it really helps you to determine what are my KPIs, what are the metrics, what are the baseline figures that I need, and what tools do I need to measure. So you have media reach, event attendance, share of voice, impressions, message plays, unique visitors, response, positive comment, inquiries, the whole works. Now, the goal here is to translate this into business outcome, but you need this metric. So how does unique visitors, how does it convert? So unique visitors means you generated new leads, but what happened with those new leads? How did those new leads come? Did they come from your website? Did they come from something that you put out? What happened to these unique visitors? Did it convert into downloads? Did it convert into visits? Did it convert into sales? But you need to just measure. And that's why you have to be able to sit down and map it end to end. So I usually like mapping. If I want to make a contribution to profit this year, what are the key things that you begin to work backward? Please, I will share the link to the video that I did on measurement, where I explain some of these things further. What are the key things that I need to do, and what would I measure? If somebody from social media, they see a flyer and they go into our showroom, how do I track in that value chain and that person? And it's not so difficult to track. When you have a showroom, for example, and people just walk in, people may have walked in because they saw something on social media, on your website, or somewhere. How would you know? There should be something within that place that someone just gets information. How did you hear about us? Maybe it's a little nice form that they just tick off. That helps you to know, okay, this is from this channel. But because we don't put these things in place, people just come and then they take credit for it, and you don't know that it's your social media that caused foot traffic. So you really need to know what this speaks to in terms of your business outcomes, and that's those linkages. That's really where it's at. When I sit with communications teams, these are the things that we then, it's like, it's a lot of mind work, let me not even lie, but it helps in really showcasing ROI and showcasing value. So here are some of the sample KPIs that you can look at. So improvement in sentiment and satisfaction scores across key stakeholders. So there's something called sentiment score, satisfaction score. If you're like, hey, Adedoyin, please, there's someone that I always recommend, Professor Jim McNamara. That man is an expert in measurement. Just watch his content. He has something called the taxonomy of metrics. He has a lot more metrics than what I put here. And he kind of has like where or how. So he broke it into activities, the metrics, and then methodologies to measure. You may want to go and just tabernacle on that man's content so that you can learn some of these things. You can look at the number of positive, neutral, negative media mentions. What exactly is this saying? Negative media mentions, you know, that has impacting directly on reputation. Same thing with positive media mentions. So it's positive influence on reputation, negative influence on reputation. If it's neutral, neutral is not good. Neutral means that it can easily become negative. So with neutral, the goal is to convert it to positive. Percentage increase in top tier media engagement. Engagement rate on internal communications channels means that the people internally that we're communicating to, they're paying attention, they're absorbing the messaging. But as opposed to just engagement rates, I always like to measure understanding. Someone can engage and not really understand. Do they understand what we've said? Is there accuracy in the reporting? Is there accuracy in message delivery? Those are the things that you will need to measure to show that, hey, comms is working. So there's the intangible side, but there's also the tangible side of the things that you will be measuring. Percentage of employees who report clarity about company strategy and priority. So you can see that it's not just engagement. How is this improving understanding? I always like to tell comms professionals that when we focus too much on awareness, we forget that there is an understanding element. I can be aware of something, but not have understanding of what that thing is really all about. And understanding is critical to take the next step, whether it is to buy, to engage, to support the policy. I need understanding to be able to do that. increase in proactive positive narratives stemming from your PR initiative. So earned media, for example, will fall under that. So here is a sample comms KPI scoring sheet, and you can develop your own, again, depending on what it is that you are doing, and you can create this as a dashboard. To create a dashboard, you can do it in Excel, or you do what's this thing called Power BI. That's where it becomes a bit more technical, but you can just create it as a Word document and just be putting your figures. And if you're able to get a data analyst, they can now, make it more professional for you. But it can be as simple simplicity. Just see, start off with what's simple, what's possible, before you get into the more technical. And so what you can do with a scoring table like this is month on month, quarterly or annually. How are we doing? What numbers? Where are we at? Right? What weighting are we giving to based on our own organization? So 15%. So 50% weight means that reputation management carries this much weight within the organization. Of course, it's going to be more than that in terms of just saying what should we be scoring ourselves, or you can decide this weight thing is not working for me. So again, you can see that all of these things you really have to customize it to your unique context, right? So our target score, so on a scale of 1 to 5, where do we want reputation to be if we score ourselves? And then you say, okay, maybe we want to reach 4. Where are we currently? So for this kind of thing, reputation management, so sentiment, I will have a line item for sentiments based on the tools. Where is that current level of sentiment? Our reputation event, for example, if we get feedback on reputation metrics, which is why, again, if you learn about reputation, you need to know the core metrics of reputation. And then stakeholder trust. Stakeholder trust, it's harder to measure trust. It's more technical. Not even say harder, it's just more technical to measure trust. You give yourself a target score, and then you have the actual score. Now, your dashboard means that you then take some of these metrics and they have a line item, and you can say month on month, or I'll say quarterly for something like sentiment, quarterly or even half yearly. Where were we? Where are we? June 2026, December, where were we before? So over time, you then begin to see like a framework of how communications is making a difference to key metrics. And I'll put my business metrics as well. How is that linking to this? So you just have it as a full thing that you can look at, but you can actually build it. So media relations, media tone, engagement, accuracy, turnaround, stakeholder engagement, engagements level, satisfaction, policy compliance, internal comms, engagement rate, clarity, campaign delivery, success. So all of these things you can just develop on your own. It really just depends on what are we measuring, what do we want to achieve, and what's really important to our senior leaders. And I was having a conversation with someone that I've worked with, a CEO, that all that CEO wants is that he's on the cover of Forbes. All the other things that you are saying it is for your pocket. As long as it's in the cover of Forbes, as long as the media is, that's his own marker of success. So that kind of person that you have to do what they want, but you also have to tell them that this is not the most important thing, man, sir, right? So you have to find that middle ground to get, and that's where influence is. Get them from where they are to where they should be, and it can't be, but no, that's not the. It's wisdom to be able to. So navigating that particular client was so funny, showing them other things that they don't consider to be important, or they don't consider that communications can actually impact. Or showing them that, hey, we've done this thing, look at the results, and get them to where you need them to be. So here's an example of a scoring sheet that you can actually use. Now, thinking about measurement tools, like I said to you before, this is a space that is really evolving, and a lot of the measurement tools. So one tool that I really love to use is Brand24 when I have clients that want to do like communication audit work, social listening. It's very, very good with it. That's Brand24, but it's costly. It's very pricey. A lot of these media monitoring, media mention tools that are very, very, very costly. So you have to then really think about, what do I need? So I am able to use them because I factor them into the cost when a client comes to say, oh, okay, we want to do a brand audit, we want to do this. I put research and measurements. I don't joke, it's important, it's necessary, and I put a costing to it. So you may have to create a business case for it for your organization. Now, depending on your organization and how much your organization has, some of those costs will actually be quite ridiculous. So is it something you can do as a one-off? Is something like, okay, you use the free version first? I don't know. You have to then decide. But with measurement tools, you have to really find a cocktail of tools that deliver the metrics, which is why knowing the metrics is very important. Like I remember there was one report that I did. People could not believe that I used free tools to deliver that report, because I was very clear on the 5 key things I wanted to measure, and then I looked for 3 tools that would give me the data. For some of them, I combined 2 or 3 tools, and by the time I finished that report, you were like, "What? How did you do this?" So that clarity really does help in terms of measurement. So you may want to do stakeholder interviews and feedback, and not everything requires tools. Some it's surveys, some is like you're doing some sort of polling, some is like qualitative feedback that you need to get from people. So you need to really be very, very, very clear. So don't look down on Survey Monkey type form, getting some feedback via social media. Those are also important as well. So you want to do perception audits. Perception audits is more technical to do. Stakeholder, regulators, communities, because you actually have to do a survey for that one and then analyze the survey. So now the good thing with AI is that AI actually does help in terms of measurement. I've actually used it, I've been playing around with it in terms of measuring certain things. The only constraint from a corporate perspective is how much of the company data do you want to be putting in AI, especially free AI. And I don't know if you have AI policy, and that's something that corporate communications should be spearheading. Responsible use of AI. How do we use AI within the organization? How much of company data do you want to be putting in some of these things? That's the consideration, the ethical part of it that you should be thinking about. Google Analytics, social media analytics. Let me tell you, social media, Google Analytics, your web, the back end. If you're not paying attention to the data there, that's the starting point. Before you go and buy any fancy tool or pay for any fancy tool, start from there. Your social media analytics say a lot. I think over the holiday, I was looking at analytics for my YouTube. I was like, wow, most the watched videos, where it's coming from, topics, all of those things. It's informing my content for this first quarter. So there's already things that your existing data, your CRM, you might not be the one in control of the CRM, but the CRM can give you data that you can actually use, right? Where people are coming from. See, all of these things, I start from what you have right now and use it well, which is why, again, knowledge is very important, because if you have it and you don't know what to do with it, then even Adedoyin can't help you. Reputation risk assessment, workshops. So this is workshopping to really understand. So you're hearing from your stakeholders, you bring them into a workshop. Very interesting. I've done a number of that. Very interesting feedback and data that you can get from that. But it's not something you do every quarter. Most times it's once a year. The same thing, brand alignment assessment. This should be done quarterly, especially if your organization is very large and you have subsidiaries. How are people aligning in terms of the use of the brand, aligning or adhering with our brand guidelines, email signature? Those things matter, please. Media tracking and monitoring platforms, CRM, stakeholder engagement tools, and survey tools can be used. But let me just share on the measures of success. Like I said, I do have a video on measurement, so I'm not going into in depth because I have videos. So the bite-sized comms course on strategic communications, and I have a standalone measurement course with those two. And then what I have here, you should be good. And some of you might need to go and get deeper knowledge. Jim McNamara is good. It's very, very good in that. So yeah, alignment in perception. So where what we're saying about ourselves align with how we're perceived outside. Yeah, that's a measure that you are working. That's a measure that corporate communications is doing its work. There needs to be, if there is a gap, there's a problem. Message resonance, right? That's your message is resonating. It's driving. When we say resonance, it means that your message lands to your target audience or your stakeholder, and they take the action you need them to take. So, and that's why in the stakeholder mapping framework, there's something called say, feel, do. What do we want them to say? What do we want them to feel? What do we want them to do? And we craft messaging along those three. And when they do the thing that we want them to, when they say the thing we want them to say, do the thing we want them to do, feel the thing we want them to feel, we have succeeded in our work. Increase in brand-led opportunities. So because of our brand, certain opportunities open up to us. And this is what you have to really, really track. Because if by the strength of your brand, opportunities open up for your company, that's you now. You've contributed to that as the custodian of the brand, as the custodian of the reputation. But you have to be on top of measuring things like this. You have to be on top of if there's a team in your department called commercial, you have to be knowing what they are doing now. So they are brokering deals based on reputation, taking the credit, and you're there doing the hard work. Please, we have to change that narrative in 2026. So strong industry leadership, and we know how to measure that. So you're the go-to person for information in the leadership rankings. Your organization is top 5, top 10, or whatever it is. It's strong employer brand, best place to work guides, or best place to work. What's that thing called? Rankings. You feature, your organization features at the top. That's it. When people talk about your organization, or when they see recruitment from your organization, they say avoid, flee. Then that's a problem. Then high employee engagements, these things can be measured. Improved organizational performance. This one, right, in a way it's intangible, but you see, if you're able to, and I like to use, for example, this was a real experience. Call center, they're spending so much time on a particular call, and with every second that they spend, it's costing your organization X amount of money. So the more time they spend with one person, the more it is costing, right? Because they need to get to as many customers as possible. And then we're able to deliver something. First of all, when you come in and look at the call logs, what are people asking about the most? Can comms create something that we can direct people? So rather than a customer service person, spending so much time, it's easy. FAQs that people can go to on the website. Do you know, it's so funny how many organizations do not have FAQs for recurring things that people keep asking about. That thing will save you time. So we can redirect them to FAQs, or they read the FAQs before even coming. But some people don't like to read. But even beyond even writing it, there are things and places we can redirect people to step by step. And that's why you have explainer videos, for example, that they don't have to burn in your call center. And so we're able to deliver those solutions as well. Train the call center people on, when they ask for this, direct them here. Cut down the time. That is comms supporting and saving money in that way. So again, this is like, I guess, is really think end to end. Where can comms help, right? What are the issues? What are the challenges? Where is the data that we're harvesting to make some of these decisions? Strong brand recognition, increased brand equity, avoidance or effective management of reputational risk. And this is a collective thing. It's not just a comms thing, right? But reputational risk, being able to manage it well, increase in brand advocates and loyalists. That's a big deal in the world that we live in today. And then, of course, increase in brand value on the balance sheet or income statement. Should, with your full chest, take ownership of that, where you can see that increase, that based on the things you've done, how you have worked collaboratively internally, you have increased the value. So what that means is that, do you know the current brand value of your organization? What is that? There's actually a figure for it. So do you know the current brand value on the balance sheet for your organization? And then what can we do to increase that brand value? Do we even understand what affects the valuation of brand value on a balance sheet? And where can comms make a difference in all of these things? So that's some of the ways you should be thinking about measuring success as a corporate communications person. We have officially, drum rolls, come to the end of the Unpacking Corporate Communications bite-sized comms course. I honestly hope that this has been valuable for you. The 4 modules, I hope that you've been armed with practical, simplified information that can help you to get improved results in your work. I hope that you've been able to see opportunity areas. I hope that you've been able to see gaps that need to be closed. I hope that you've been able to, see how you can do your work better, how you need to communicate differently, show up differently at work. I really hope that you've left with something tangible and something practical that you can use in your own journey. Now, please stay connected with me as always. One of the first things that I would really love you to do is give me feedback in the comment section. How was this course for you? Was it beneficial? What is your one takeaway? What are you learning? Are there things that you wish that I had covered? Remember, this is meant to be a bite-sized comms course, because somebody now will now be asking me something. I'll be like, people pay for me to be able to teach that information. But I would still like to know, are there other things that you want me to cover or teach that you feel like, oh, are they doing maybe touch on this, or there's some concepts that you feel like I'm not so sure, like this measurement now. When you go, please, you have to go and watch the two other videos for you to say, you didn't cover this. I didn't go into so much depth because I've already touched on some of those things in previous videos, which I will hyperlink. But let me know in the comment section, what is your key takeaway? What did you learn? And was this valuable for you? And if it was valuable for you, because remember, this is a no gatekeeping zone, please share this with your colleagues, share the entire course across your social media pages, share it with your organization. You can even share it with your manager in case your manager really doesn't really know. They can also learn as well. But please, let's share it across board and stay connected. Please connect with me on LinkedIn if you haven't done so already. Just search for my name, Adedoyin Jaiyesimi. You can visit my website, adedoyinjaiyesimi.com, where I also have books and other resources. I have a career cheat sheet that is very valuable for communications professionals across different sectors. My books are available as well. I have free and paid books that you can access, ebooks, physical books. And then, of course, if you haven't subscribe to this YouTube channel. You're going to be learning valuable content from this channel. And if you're new to this channel, just go through the old content. There's a lot of gems in this YouTube channel. And if you're a young professional within the African communications industry, I have the Comms Mentorship Circle Substack, where I also just share reflections. It's just my way of mentoring young professionals within the industry. So thank you for sticking with me and this bite-sized comms course. Please look out for the next comms course. I was thinking, should I tell you? No, I won't tell you. I'll let you. You can even guess in the comment section, or you can suggest, are they doing? Please do a comms course on whatever topic, and we'll see how that goes. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.